The stormwater regulations for pollution control that are mandated as part of the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit requires that best management practices be included in each set of project plans for each and every construction project. BMPs establish controls that prevent pollution by reducing pollutants at their source and by requiring a clean and well-kept work site at all times. This training module presents the BMP procedures and practices that are required to be implemented on all construction sites in order to either minimize or eliminate the discharge of pollutants into the storm drain systems and water courses. These pollutants are generally the result of activities involving the creation, stockpiling, or removal of construction site wastes. This training module covers the identification of and the proper practices for the collection, storage, and disposal of a variety of solid wastes typically found on any job site. Construction wastes include brick, mortar, timber, metal scraps, sawdust, pipe and electrical cuttings, non-hazardous equipment parts, and packaging materials such as styrofoam and cardboard boxes. Landscaping wastes include vegetative materials, plant containers, and packaging materials. Litter wastes include food wrappers and containers, beverage cans, coffee cups, paper bags, plastic wrappers, and the litter generated by the public. Educating laborers and subcontractors on proper waste management practices and procedures is crucial to the implementation of this BMP. Educational awareness measures include making sure that the contractor assigns a water pollution control manager to oversee and enforce proper solid waste procedures and practices at all times on the worksite. Educating both laborers and subcontractors on how to identify both solid and hazardous waste and what the proper procedures are for the storage and disposal of each waste type. Reinforcing proper solid waste disposal procedures through the establishment of regular safety meetings. Establishing the requirement that laborers and subcontractors review the proper solid waste handling and storage procedures prior to the start of any job. Conducting periodic walkthrough inspections of job sites in order to make sure that BMPs are in place and are being adhered to. Prohibiting littering by laborers, subcontractors, and visitors through administrative measures, and minimizing the production of solid waste materials whenever possible. Dumpsters of sufficient size and number should be provided on all construction sites in order to contain all of the solid waste materials generated. Contracted waste haulers must provide dumpsters that are watertight and should schedule their pickups for every 2 weeks. Additional waste collection containers and a more frequent pickup schedule may be required during a demolition phase of a construction project. Waste collection dumpsters should never be located near drain inlets, stormwater drainages, or water courses. Dumpster washout is never permitted on any worksite. All construction debris and litter should be collected and placed in dumpsters on a continuous basis. Waste materials should not be allowed to pile up throughout the worksite. To prevent the clogging of storm drain systems, remove all litter and debris from drainage grates, trash racks, and ditch lines and deposit it into a waste collection dumpster. Smaller trash receptacles should be provided in the contractor's workyard, field trailer areas, and at locations where workers congregate for meals and breaks as a control measure, and should be emptied into larger waste collection dumpsters on a daily basis. Maintain a construction site that is free of litter and debris, and utilize administrative measures to prohibit littering on the worksite. Only trash hauling contractors are approved for handling and disposing of bulk waste stored in collection dumpsters. Whenever possible and prior to disposal, waste material should be sorted and stored by types in designated areas that have been approved by the Water Pollution Control Manager. Solid waste storage areas must be located at least 50 feet from drainage facilities and watercourses. And never locate a storage location in an area that is prone to flooding and ponding. Use pallets, berms, dikes, or other temporary diversion devices to keep solid waste off the ground and to prevent it from coming into contact with stormwater runoff. Construction wastes that are readily visible to the general public should be stored and stacked in an orderly fashion. Except during fair weather, construction and highway planting wastes that is not stored in watertight dumpsters must be securely covered with plastic or a comparable material to protect against wind and rain. All solid wastes, prior to disposal, must be thoroughly sorted in order to remove any potentially hazardous wastes. Hazardous wastes are required to be stored in separate storage away from non-hazardous wastes. Ensure that hazardous liquid wastes, such as used oils, solvents, and paints, and chemicals such as acids, pesticides, additives, and curing compounds, are not disposed of in dumpsters designated for construction debris. For the disposal of hazardous waste, see the BMP for Hazardous Waste Management, and have hazardous waste transported to an appropriate disposal or recycling facility. Hazardous waste require that only a licensed commercial hazardous waste hauler can remove these wastes from the worksite and dispose of them properly. It's unlawful for the typical solid non-hazardous waste hauler to transport any hazardous wastes. Whenever practical, vegetation, debris, packaging, and leftover building materials should be salvaged or recycled. Trees and shrubs from land clearing can be turned into wood chips and used as mulch on graded areas. Wood pallets, cardboard boxes, and construction scraps can also be recycled in a similar manner. Inspections of the entire worksite and all waste collection, storage, and disposal areas must be performed on a routine basis in order for this BMP to be effective. During the rainy season, inspections must be completed by the contractor prior to and after storm events, at 24-hour intervals during extended storm events, or as required in the project's special provisions. The contractor's Water Pollution Control Manager is responsible for monitoring on-site solid waste storage and that disposal procedures are being properly implemented. During an inspection, the Water Pollution Control Manager should check for the following. Is the site free of litter? Are trash receptacles provided in the contractor's yard, field trailer areas, and at locations where workers congregate for lunch and break periods? Is litter from work areas within the construction limits of the project site collected and placed in watertight dumpsters? Are waste management receptacles free of leaks? Are the contents of waste management receptacles properly protected from contact from stormwater or from being dislodged by winds? Are waste management receptacles filled at or beyond capacity? Due to the result of ever-changing conditions and situations, regular, routine maintenance will be required in order to adhere to the procedures and guidelines of this BMP. Maintenance measures include the following. Ensure that all solid waste containers are covered. If trash containers are leaking, install watertight liners or remove and replace the leaking container. Relocate waste stockpiles away from drainage courses or place a berm, dike, or a temporary diversion structure around waste stockpiles to convey stormwater runoff away from them. Either move or place new trash receptacles if solid wastes appear to be building up in areas such as yards, field trailers, and lunch and break areas. Instruct personnel in these areas about the solid waste disposal procedures. If hazardous waste is mixed with non-hazardous solid waste, separate the hazardous from the non-hazardous waste and instruct laborers and contractors on how to identify and dispose of the hazardous waste properly. To prevent illegal dumping, block access to areas where dumping occurs. Keep trash cleaned up to discourage dumping, and post signs that illegal dumping is prohibited. To learn more about the standards and specifications for this BMP, refer to the project special provisions or talk to your resident engineer.